Okay, so this project aims to build a database-driven web-based information system. And I know many of you may have a dream to create a startup in the near future. Actually, you can use this project as a starting point to train and also polish basic skills to like writing a website with some programming languages, also with the database systems. So this is a semester long, a project for building a database-driven web-based application for real-world domain of your interest. And we have no restrictions for the specific domain you want to build, and we encourage the student to have a brainstorming to build whatever they want actually. In this project, we have several stages. First of all, you need to identify an application of your interest that requires a database system as a backend. So this is important. We need to use the database systems. And then you will design your online database and the key functions you can provide with database systems. You will create an actual database using MySQL, for example, and also populate the database. In other words, you need to get some data to put into the database systems. And after that, you will write some queries and modifications on the database system to support your application logic. You can provide some functions, and this function may change or may load in lots of data into the systems. Then you need to write some queries with like SQL and as well as some other programming languages to support this logic of the functions. And at the end, you need to build a web-based interface to support these interactions with your real-world applications. In other words, the interface for the front end will be a web page, and the back end is like MySQL at the database systems. And the students may also need to demo the system and also provide some showcases to the maybe before we can do to the whole class, but nowadays we'll probably have to do to the TA only. Okay, and this program project will take about 30% of your final score. And you have another option to implement a simplified project without a web interface. For example, if you have found some problems to do the web programming, then you can ignore the web interface requirements. However, if you do so, then the 5 points will be deducted from your project points. In other words, your highest score will be 25 only if you refuse to do the web interface. I think you can find some people to do the web interface. It will be very easy, right? And we have no requirements for how good looking your web interface is. You can provide very simple web interfaces, then that's enough. You don't need to design a very good like CSS or some other styling documents to help you style the web interface. You don't need to do so. A very simple one will be enough. So I think this 5 points should be easy to get, and you can try to do this full project instead of the simplified ones. And this project will be a multi-stage project, and for each stage, the student may need to deliver something to submit to the Canvas. So for the first 3 stages, generally the students need to submit one PDF document as a stage report for the TA to grade. And you cannot proceed to the next step until you receive approval from the TA in Canvas. So this is important. The TA may also provide you with some comments and suggestions to make the polish or changes as well. This project has 4 stages. In the first stage, it is for the team formation. We have no points assigned to this stage. All students need to form a team, and we will require the team size to be 3 students. And for stage 2, we need to provide a detailed description of your real-world application and the AR model diagrams. In other words, by stage 2, you need to decide your application domain as well as all the information you plan to cover into your project. And for stage 3, we need to have a development plan. In other words, you need to decide all the implementation details in stage 3. And of course, we also need to translate all the ER diagrams into some relations. We will show later how to do the translation as well. So you need to have a plan for the implementation. For stage 4, we need to have a demo and a final report. In other words, everything we need to implement before the stage 4 based on your plan. So according to the distribution, stage 2 and stage 3 have about 15% of all your points for the projects, and the final demo as well as the final report will account for 70% of these project points. So let's go over the stages one by one. Stage 1 is on the group formation. So the student need to form a team with 3 members, and more than 3 is not allowed. You can also create a very cool name for your group and also include the team member names, FSU IDs, email information. And the group team members will be tied up throughout the whole semester. In other words, you cannot change it. And if one happens to leave or drop the class, and the others may have to work on their own. So you need to make sure all the team members will work together throughout the whole semester and no one will drop it. So if you have any problems in finding the team members, we have 2 solutions. First one, you need to actively contact your peers in the same class. We have the documents prepared for you, right? You can go to this page to find someone you're probably interested in and you want to create a team with them. Then you can contact them by emails. So I suggest everyone to be active in looking for the team members. Instead of waiting for someone to contact you, you can also be active in reaching out, right? Generally, if you are active, you can find a team earlier than the others, and you are secure, right? In this course project. So everyone please be active in reaching out and contact the others. If you still have problems and like for example, if you reach out to many people and they are all unavailable, then you probably can ask the TA for help. The TA can assign you to some teams instead. So by the end of the stage 1, you need to have one report about your team information, like team name, as well as student members, FSU ID, and emails. They should be in one single PDF document uploaded to Canvas. And the TA will assign you to different groups in the Canvas for you. And stage 2 will be based on the application description and the ER diagram. In the second stage, you need to have a brainstorming discussion with your team members, because you have many different choices to implement in the project. You need to decide the best one working for all of you in the team. So your group can identify one application you would like to manage with your database system. So please pick an application of your interest, as you will be working on this for the entire semester. So your application should be substantial, but not too complicated. I have some suggestions for you on the topic. So please choose this topic very carefully, because according to my experiences in the last 2 years, some students choose the topic very careless in the very beginning. And later on, as they do the implementation, they find that they cannot do that because this project can be too complicated. And later on, they plan to change the project, they find lots of problems, because if everything is designed and you do the changes at the last stage, it will be very challenging. So please do have a brainstorming with your team members to decide the topic, and choose your topic very carefully. The student may also need to upload one project summary, may include some information, so like the description of the application domain of your choice, and also state as clear as possible what you plan to do, and also pay attention to the following factors. First one is your usefulness. State as clear as possible why your chosen application is useful, and make sure to answer the following questions. Are there any similar or equivalent websites or applications available already? If so, what are they and how is your different from the existing ones? The second one will be realist. Describe what your data is and where you can get the data as well. Of course, you also need to pay attention to describe the functionality you plan to offer. This is the way you talk about how to meet the functionality requirements. So we have some requirements for you as well for the project. This will also be the grading criteria for your project as well. So there are 2 different types of function you need to offer for the project. The first one will be the basic function. We have some description in the stage 4 for what are the basic functions you need to offer. as well as some advanced functions. So remember also to include at least one creative thing, like the advanced functions, something that don't exist in the existing websites or applications. This is something new you created by yourself. This advanced function should also go beyond the basic functions listed above. In addition, an advanced function should also be something that is technically challenging, meaning you need to spend more significant time on the implementation part. So of course, such functions should be relevant and therefore useful for your application as well, and make clear what the features are and explain why you think it is cool to have them. So for the advanced function, please think in depth, right? You have a brainstorming. You can find something new or some new function you can offer. Just imagine you are creating a startup website and you create some new service for the users, which is different from the existing ones. In this way, you will be able to attract the user to use your site, right? This is the advanced function you can create. Also, this advanced function should also be very hard to implement because you can practice your skills with these advanced functions for the knowledge you learn from this course, right? And by the end of this stage, you need to submit one ER diagram of your application domain with a minimum number of entities, which is 3 actually. So is the number of relationships. In other words, the system should be complicated enough to contain enough information in both these entities and relationships in the ER diagram. You also need to provide some English descriptions of these assumptions you make. So in the report, you need to upload to the Canvas, covers 2 parts. The first part is about descriptions of the domains. All the answer is 2 questions as shown here. And you also need to have a description for the functionalities of your project. Focus on the basic functions as well as the advanced function as shown here. This report should also be in one PDF document submitted to the Canvas system. Each team only needs to upload one single copy to the Canvas. And then we can go to the stage 3 on the developing. So each group may need to submit one detailed and well-thought development plan, including the following information. The first one will be the relational schema of your database system. And also remember to include all the keys and the dependency relationships as well. And the final choice of the database system and the software you plan to use. And where and how you will get the data for your application. Do you get it from the web or some other applications, or you make it up? Depending on your application, right? Some of the projects we can crawl the data from the web. For example, if we are creating a news website, then which can provide a news summarization for the users, then we can crawl the data from like a CNN website. We can summarize it and then generate the summarization for the users. So you need to have a data source, right? If you cannot find a data source, you probably can make it up, but you need to provide enough data there. If you cannot find enough data, then you can create by yourself. I have a suggestion here because in the final demo, you need to show something real, right? In other words, you cannot just make some very toy data there. Like we have like 10 data instances with very simple information there. Maybe it is not enough because you are comparing or you are competing with other teams in the class. The other may make a very sophisticated and very real data there, and compare with their system, your system will look like toys. It may also affect your final grading as well from the TA. And in this project, you also need to describe the table division among the team members, as well as the project timeline with some milestones in the implementations. So if you receive a not approved for the stage 2, you need to discuss with TA about and address the TA's concern on your development plan. So for this stage, the final report will also be in one single PDF, and one group only needed to submit one single copy to the Canvas. The final one will be about demo and the final report. Each group may need to do its applications. The demo takes about 15 minutes. and also contain the following information. The first one will be the basic function. Describe how to insert records into a database system and show how to search the database and or print the return results. Show a few different interesting queries of your database system. One of the queries must involve join. Join is one kind of function we can use in SQL. We will show later of multiple tables. And one must be aggregated query. This is also something we will learn from the course on the aggregation of the queries. And we also show how to update the records, also show how to delete the records as well. These are the basic functions. Besides the basic functions, we also have some advanced functions, remember, right? So the advanced functions should go beyond the basic functions listed above. In addition, an advanced function should also be something that is technically challenging and hard, meaning you need to spend lots of time on this in the implementations. Of course, this function should also be relevant and useful for the application. And we have some further clarification on the advanced functions for the project. So an advanced function should be something which is useful for the users and also technically challenging than the basic functions, also creative with novel respect to some similar applications in the domain. And we have some examples that's showing here. It is an advanced function because of novelty. So for example, we have a project that archived all the weather records or forecasts for several major weather sites. One is its advanced function is to predict whether this weather site is the most accurate given the current weather state. It is an advanced function because of the implementation. We have another example as shown here. This is a project that does this recipe research. One of its advanced function is to recommend the recipes based on the user's dietary constraints. Users can enter the constraint such as a calorie to take, ingredients and preferences, and something other information. And this function can return a list of recipes that meet the constraints. And the novelty comes from this search implementation. The search is also a very big search over more than 1,000 recipes, involving multiple table joins and pair comparisons. And the project also optimizes their search with indexes and views. So essentially, these advanced functions are opportunities for your group to do some creative things and some funny things. And at the demo time, your group need to make a case and to show why your functions are advanced. At the last stage, we have one report to upload to the Canvas. So we have some requirements. So please, maybe we need to make some changes. We don't do the handling anymore. Please upload. Maybe present the project report to TA during the demo. I think we will do the demo online, so you need to present the report to the TA during the demo. And also, as a complete report, you need to include all the detailed contents for the project and also write it as a complete story. The report will be one single column with 5 to 10 pages in the length. The font size will be like 10 to 12 points. You also need to address the following components in the report. First section will be about the introduction. So what is the application and why do you want to choose this application instead of some others? And what are the key components in your project? As to database details, how do you design a database system and what is your ER model and relational model? What are the tables you include in the database systems and how do you design your database system to accommodate functional dependencies, as well as some theoretical things. Are your tables in BCNF or 3NF? This NF denotes the normal forms. And how about the constraints? We will cover the NF in the following lectures in detail. We're going to cover some functionality details. What are the basic functions and the advanced functions in the project, and how do you implement them in your team? We also need to see some implementation details. What are the language you are using and what are the platform you are using to the project? And how do you implement the front-end web interface and the application logic? how does the front-end web interface interact with the back-end database systems. Students can also upload their code to some online website sites like GitHub or Dropbox and provide a link in the report. And we also need to have some experiences you learn from the project, as shown here. Have you solved some hard problems in the project and how to extend your project to more advanced and mature systems in the future? Of course, you also need to have some references, some resources you are using for the project in the implementation part. So this is about project description. You can also check this description carefully by yourself after class. And besides the description, we also have some slides prepared for you. Let's go to slides.